it's never going to be realistic to tell everyone here, like, avoid shame at all costs. You're never going to feel this. And that's like saying, like, you're never going to feel sadness. You're never going to feel anger. You're never going to feel some of these things that you might feel are unpleasant in the moment, but they do lead to the opposition of that. They do lead to the opposite emotion, or the next one that is going to lead you in your step forward.
Hey everybody, we've had some of the most incredible guests coming to you these past couple of months. The amount of expertise and knowledge on these cutting edge topics is something we really hope that you enjoy. And if you do, it would make a huge difference to us if you could rate, review, and subscribe the podcast. It helps us to get more guests, better experts, and talk about all of the things that are really important to you. So give us a love, give us a lot of love, and don't forget to subscribe so you get all our new episodes. Hi guys, and welcome back to the Thick Thighs Save Lives podcast. I got my sissy.
Oh, hey guys, Kelsea here.
Oh my God. I like the layering you've done there.
Yeah, so here's what I wanted to chat with you about. Are you wearing Omni? It's 3 chains. It's 3 chains. Get it straight. 1, 2, 3, and they're all in one clasp. So,
layering's so hard right now, but I can never do it right. And every time I try to do it, I put it on and I go 2 chains, and then take it off. I'm like, no, you can't.
So my first attempt at layering necklaces was 3 different chains, right, at the 3. And I said, they kept getting tangled. And I said, like, this life isn't for me. But I really love this look. So I was like, we've got to solve this. And I went into like a boutique that's actually local. And they had this one in there. And I was like, let's go. All in one. It's like, doesn't get all tangly, and it's water resistant.
So are you saying maybe I just don't have the correct?
I think so. I had to come back to it a couple times.
All right, maybe I will revisit with the one clasp.
1 clasp for 3 chains. But listen, what leggings are you wearing?
Omni.
What color? I knew it. We didn't go over this.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Guys, if you're not watching on YouTube, you're really missing out. But here's what I want to tell you. We didn't talk about this before we got on air. We didn't say like, hey, you're wearing your black shirt with your Omni leggings. And we didn't talk about this, but I have a knack for doing this with people. I don't know if I'm incredibly intuitive, or I'm not sure, but it's something, because I turned up for a walk with my friend Daria the other day, and we were basically in the same outfit. Like, we had our black, so I had my black CBG crop top. She had the sleeved crop. So I'm in the fitted crop. You're in the regular crop. She was in it too. And then she had the glisten here shorts, the peach glisten here shorts on. And I had the peach, the daydream shorts. And I got out of the car. I was like, this is weird.
Awkward.
So now we're walking down. We went to like a walking path in our matching outfits with our Duna strollers and babies. And I was like, oh my God.
Stop. You guys were so, oh man, that's so cute.
I was like, this is sick. If anyone watching this from the outside, I'd be like, okay.
No, just good friends who like fashion. That's all it is.
It was perfect. Honestly, it was perfect. It just sets it off for the right tone. Like, you're showing up, you get the same mindset. Obviously, you're feeling it. So it sets for a good vibe. So I want to say that's setting the stage for a good vibe for our podcast today. Although we may be on, I'm going to warn you guys, this may be a podcast when Rachel and I are on separate sides of the aisle, but I think it should generate some great conversation.
Listen, I don't disagree with you too much, but when I do, I really do. So
you go hard.
I don't know. That's just the way I live. Like, it's 100. But can I? First thing I want to tell you is, Hey, how's your mom? Did you have you ever noticed when you come back to Mass
Yeah.
that the people here
Careful. We have some mass listeners.
I'm from Mass.
I know totally, you can totally say that. This is, Matt said this to me the other day. You can't say that. I said, I'm from there. I can say whatever I want.
I'm
You can't. You
I'm
Floridian.
it's like okay, first of all, I say this about like family things all the time. I'm like, I can say that about my family members. You can't, you're not in my family, but I can say
Yes.
that. So it's like it's Massachusetts is a
Don't we
family.
know this? Yeah.
There is no one that does things faster. First of all, you come here, everything just speeds up. You don't wait for anything. You go through a drive-through line, it's like lightning speed. You get a sandwich made, it's like, here's your sandwich. Like, no one here, first of all, everyone here is rushing, but no one is rushing in the way that they rush in Florida. In Florida,
Oh my God, this is so true.
they
Yes.
rush in such a ridiculous way. It's like you can tell they're rushing.
It's
They're
frantic.
It's frantic. They're trying
It's
way too.
inefficient.
It's so, oh my God. That's the thing about it. It's the most inefficient rushing that I've ever seen. Things are flying, slamming, everything's everywhere, and they look flustered. When people rush in mass, it looks like a seasoned veteran. It's like it's on
Yes.
purpose. It's everything's efficient. They rush efficiently.
Yeah.
They don't even have a look on their face that like indicates any stress whatsoever. It's a completely blank stare and their hands are just moving so fast, and then the thing is in front of you. The coffee. There it is. It's like no one does it like here, but also I just have to say we went to a restaurant last night, and like of course, like we immediately knew someone, everybody at the restaurant comes in, sits down, knows someone in the immediate area, says hello. But it's like no one else, maybe they do, but they don't ask it like this. You see someone, you sit down, and he's like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? Hey, you
How
retired?
are you?
Nah, I don't retire. I gotta keep working. I just, you know me, I work for a living. All right. Hey, how's your mom?
How's your mom? You know what?
or, or sometimes in Southern Mass, it doesn't even need a your. Hey, how's mom?
Yeah. It's like it's ours.
Shared a mom.
Yes.
Don't. Maybe somewhere along the line, like
No, this is so true. It doesn't even need the in between. It's like it's our mom.
hey, how's mom? Mom. You know how mom always is? She's hanging in there.
She's hanging in there. She is.
She's never thriving. She's never like on the edge of death, but she's hanging in there, you know? House mom, she's hanging in there.
So true. It's these generic, like these are very generic responses. And you immediately, when you go there, you immediately fall into it. You know how the conversation's gonna go. And
Yeah.
I think like just on the like stark contrast when you go down south, they have different like I call them niceties. I think this is a general thing that you have to get used to when you go here. And at first, I found it very difficult because the speed of the conversation was really slow for me. So I felt like I was getting more anxious during the conversation. I think this is something that's like good that I picked up on being down south, because I'm like, you're trying to like rush them through this conversation, but it felt very inefficient for me. And like, and it didn't follow the general guidelines that like I was used to for the setup of the conversation. And it has, because they have a different like string of niceties that go along with it, that I was like, why are we talking about that?
It's way longer. It's like, first
Yeah.
of all, when you say how's mom, there is no other answer than hanging in there. Like
Yeah.
you don't actually get the like how she is. Hey,
No.
yeah, she's hanging in there. And then
Yeah.
move on.
And then we move on.
But like when someone asks you in the South, like, how are you or how's the person? There's like honest answers that are going, is like, and you have to just kind of like, oh, geez, I didn't
Well,
know we were
because
going
they
to
kind of like, they give a general guideline. People in the South are totally going to agree with this, though. They give a general guideline of like what's going on, like kind of like in their life or what they've done recently. Oh, she's gotten really into pickleball. And you know what I mean? It's like followed up by like a bunch of things. And it's like, oh, all right, I'll jot down that information in case I need it. But is she hanging in there?
is she hanging in there? Or not so much. Like, I don't. Pickleball. Well, that's also because the people here, and I 100% know this because I was one of them. They are literally just hanging. Like they haven't taken.
Efficiently. I will say this though, for the speed and the franticness that comes with, and guys, we're talking positives. We get positives and negatives going on all the time, but there is like a franticness with rushing down here that if you're not delivering that franticness, people think you're not rushing or doing things quickly or being efficient or whatever. I had this with the other day with my partner. He's like, we really have to go. And I was pumping and I was doing something else. So because I was doing something else at the same time, he was like, well, we really have to go. And I said, me standing there just pumping doesn't make the milk come out faster. So I might as well get these other things done because I'm still on the clock with pumping. Like it doesn't make it go faster by me being like, hey, yeah. Like it doesn't matter. Like this time is gonna be here no matter what. So I might as well do a couple other things while I'm doing it. Like
They don't understand that. They want to show you that they're rushing.
yeah.
It's so annoying to me. I'm sorry. So annoying to me when I like go to Starbucks or something, and one of the workers is like throwing everything around. I'm like, you could be doing that 20 times faster without, just put on a straight face and
Yeah.
just work like the people in Massachusetts. Just work with your hands and just do the thing.
Doesn't have to be a
Stop giving
full.
me all that drama.
It's the drama. It's the
Just keep
drama for
hanging in
sure.
there. All
Just
right.
keep hanging in there. Yeah, I hear you.
Do all of that. Do less. Do
Mm-hmm.
more.
Do less but do more.
I'm
You
saying.
know what I mean?
Oh, gotta do that.
You could do more by doing less,
You know what I mean?
There is one other thing I wanted to bring up for just like life updates. Um Life update for everyone, because the last time I came on here I talked to you guys about my hair falling out. It's coming back.
All right.
Look at this. But guys, if you're not on YouTube, you're really missing out. I don't know what this weird, bizarre world is that, like, you're like, okay, your hair falls out after you have a baby. Then, like, what do you do? Like, is it gonna come back? I don't know. But like now, my like hairline is different because I got all these like and I didn't do anything different. I just kept keeping on. Like I don't have any magic supplements to tell you guys or anything like that. I just kept
Yeah,
keeping on.
it's actually the hormones that your body is producing naturally. And if you
Sure.
didn't listen to last week's episode, here you are. If you have hair loss and you are like not at a perimenopause age or a menopause age, don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking that you might not be producing enough estrogen, because you're probably not, and just go on HRT. The
And
end.
when HRT, you know what? I've actually talked to some women at my gym who have sworn by HRT and said it has literally changed their life. But I do want to say, like, there are so many different ways that you can balance your hormones, particularly postpartum, that I put a lot of effort into, because focusing on milk production, but it's also contributed to just overall my hormones stabilizing, which then, of course, contributes to other things like your like hair growing in productively and everything like that. But like, some we talked about it with Best Westie with heating and cooling foods, but like chia seeds is something I never thought I was going to add into smoothies. It's just, they get stuck in your teeth. I find them inconvenient. Like,
Mm.
why? But they're really great for stable at this particularly challenging hormone time for me. They have been great for stabilizing. So putting a lot of effort into what has contributed to overall my hormones has obviously like then goes into the hair, which is secondary to the milk. But you know what I mean. It all working together.
What good is all the milk in the world if you can't have lovely, fluffy hair?
Yeah. But
I
it's a wild journey. It's a wild journey over here, you know?
I'm really, really happy for you. I want to personally thank you for the update, because I think it's really important to like talk about these things, mainstream these things. And also, like, I'm really happy that that happened for you. But like, I also know people that like they didn't get their hair growing back right away. And I
I
just
know.
encourage
Yeah.
everybody to just like always be cognizant of like, there are things that you can do to A, check your hormone levels, B, affect your hormone levels. And if that all is not working, there are ways in which you can balance them with outside sources.
But they do take a ton of like, I would say like research and effort, and I don't want that to be a deterrent, but it just be like tools in your toolbox
Yeah.
of like, like, could I add in? I take omegas. I got some because I found that I was, every time I was having swordfish, salmon, a lot of those like fishy foods like high in omega 3s, I was having better milk production. So I'm like, okay, could I supplement this? Because there's only so much fish you can really eat.
Mm.
I work it into, it's a 3 times a week minimum for me, but right now at this stage in my life, but it's really hard.
It's hard because you can't you can't prep it.
No,
Like it has to be like I went to the grocery store that day and then you can't eat it the next day either. Well, I mean,
the,
I'm
the
sure some
line.
people do, but like
So I'm sure some people do, but I have difficulty with that.
yeah, I don't do second day fish just for the sake of like the smell in my house also and like the microwave. Like it's sorry. I don't
I'm like,
fish.
I'm historically unapologetic about that, because like I take fish, like when I was working in an office, I would take fish to the office, I would cook it in the microwave, and then sometimes I would go eat it in the gym so that people would never know it was me. But like, you know what? My nutrition is going to trump everything that your sensitive smells. Okay.
Oh, I hate you. So so that you know that too. All
Don't care.
right, all right.
Which
So
is a great segue to our conversation.
okay, maybe all right. So here's the thing about today's conversation. As we prefaced, not only do we have a little bit of disagreement in this area, but also super controversial hot take because this particular area of, I don't even know what do you want to say, like uh, what this area is getting just like a lot of negative feedback. Like, we're hitting on a topic today that is like avoid this at all costs right now. And I want to discuss the fact that I don't think that anything needs an avoid at all costs mindset, because that gets weird for me. So, what we're going to talk about today is shame.
Shame. Shame.
That's your shame bells, bitches. We're walking naked through the courtyard.
I
Because
was there. I went to that spot in Croatia, by the way.
I remember seeing on your stories. I was like, oh my God. And you said like a bunch of like Americans run through there naked every day, and the Croatians are just like, oh, there's another one. These these Game of Thrones bitches.
We ruined everything.
We ruin everything. It's true. But we're talking about shame today because shame's got a bad rap right now. And I'm not going to go as far as saying that I don't think it should, because it absolutely should. We have researchers that have dedicated their entire works into the study of shame. One of your favorites being Brene Brown. We look at shame and we say, this is a bad thing. This is a thing that is inhibiting your ability to be confident, your ability to release past trauma, your ability, like just holding you back in so many areas of your life. But I want to talk about shame today as a emotion that is neither all bad or all good, because I think that it has gotten a bad rap and we are no longer using it for the positive aspect that it could possibly have. That's my hot take. You disagree? Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. But you got to know, we are able to bring you this incredible content each week and talk to you about all of the pressing matters in health and fitness because of our successful TTSL workout program.
We have incredible coaches, movement demos, and just different cycles all the time. So we take the thinking out of your training every day.
If you would like to join us, please go to ttsldaily.com and pick out your package. You are going to love every day of fitness.
So here's what I want to say about emotions in general, because like we have given language to every emotion that we have, and in different circumstances based on gender, based on like who we are, where we grow up, they have different meanings, and we give like a negative connotation or a positive connotation to so many different emotions, and that is solely based on like where you are in the world and like who you are. So I think that when it comes to any emotion, I think they all have a place. They all have a spot in our toolbox, whether it is to show you that you have the ability for empathy, or to shine light on its opposition, because like you can't have courage without fear, right? So like we think fear might be considered on the negative side of our emotional toolbox, but you can't have courage without it. So when we talk about any type of emotion, I think anger is one that is really a specific one when it comes to gender, because it means different things in different places. When women are angry, that is a shameful emotion, that we kind of put those two together, and that we should never be angry, and we should always be smiling and agreeable and whatever. When men are angry, they're passionate. They are they're angry about something, so they're going to incite change. Like it's a much more acceptable emotion when it comes to gender. And I think when we're talking about shame, I would be remiss if we didn't identify the differences that shame is used for women and how it's used for men, because I think it's very different. So the overall blanket for what I just said is that I don't feel that shame is this outcast emotion that we need to discard and say, I will never feel that, because no matter what, you're going to feel every one of our emotions on our roller coaster, and we need to have tools to use it within our favor and identify what it is, and then address it for shining light on maybe its opposition.
So I want to just share a quick story about why we kind of got started on this topic, because our upbringing is very unique in that it happens to be exactly the same. We are two different people, but raised by the same parents in the same setting, because we're only 4 years apart. So I think that it is very interesting where we might come from on this topic, because whether or not you know it, you are just, highly, highly influenced by your parents and how they raised you. And I find myself falling back into parenting strategies that were used on me, because that is just human nature. I was saying to my son the other day, is that the type of person that you want to be? And I've heard that phrase. That was a very, very constant tactic used in our house for parenting of, is that the kind of person you want to be? You're out there representing our family. Are you making yourself and our family proud? These are the types of, I don't know, manipulation. I don't know how you want to use that term, but these are phrases that we heard constantly growing up. So of course I came out with one. And I saw the look on my son's face when I said, is that the kind of person that you want to be? And it was like immediately came over his whole entire personality. And I was telling my mom about this, and she was like, oh yeah. What he felt, what you saw there was shame. And then she goes, and I responded like, oh my God, because that has such a negative connotation. And she goes, huh, yeah, who does anything without a little bit of shame, huh? And
I snorted. I'm glad we got that with the microphone.
first of all, that's my mom in a nutshell. Okay. How's your mom? My mom is shaming someone. And hey, who does anything without a little bit of shame? And I laughed, and then that just stayed with me. It stayed with me. It stayed with me. It stayed with me. Who does anything without a little bit of shame? Is that a true statement? And then I started thinking about that in response to positive changes that we're trying to make. Motivation. Who does anything without a little bit of shame? And I started thinking about some of the biggest quote unquote successes that I deem in my life. And I started thinking about the role that maybe shame plays in them. Why do I do things in a certain way? And I started realizing that a lot of the things that I consider my successes are backed in some kind of way, shape, or form by the fact that I would be ashamed not to do it this way. And I started thinking, is there a place for shame when it comes to motivation and change and positive? And in other words, is that the kind of person that you want to be?
So I think there's a lot of different things there when it comes to identifying feelings of shame and what catalyst that is for change. And see, I think when I think about shame, now this is a very similar upbringing, but when I think about shame, I think that and I'm sure everyone can find examples for both of these, but I think of it as something that has held me back. I think of it as the reasons and the doubt sisters that come in and kind of, I call them the doubt sisters, and they give every reason why you're not good enough. And I think that is a big differentiator for, I think, every individual person. And that's why I think we have found such differences in what's the motivator for each of us individually, and that we haven't been able to come up with a blanket um, a blanket thing for every person of this is how you motivate people, because people are motivated by different things and they are feeling different emotions differently. So when I kind of think about shame specifically, I think about shame being more of a secrecy and more of something that draws me back into myself instead of allowing me to step out into accountability, which is kind of which made me think about when I started thinking about shame in the discussion that we were going to go on with this. I came to accountability instead of shame because I felt the distinct difference for me personally. Being the catalyst for action comes with accountability. So I am only accountable to myself. And that's something that I've learned like over years and years and years. And I feel like with accountability, I have more space for growth and more space for connection, where shame, I feel more drawn into myself, and I feel a blockade of the things that I want to do or accomplish in the next step that I want to take.
I guess my question to you would be, what is the precursor to accountability?
Well, that's why I think shame has a spot there
Okay.
that kind of leads to that's where I think it leads to a distinction in what is the next step, I guess, when we feel some type of way. How can we address it? And that's why I also wanted to talk to everyone today about, like, when you feel this, because it's not the absence of the emotion that elicits the next one that could lead to change, right? So if we don't address the first one, then we never get to the second stage of where we can take our steps forward. So I don't think it's never going to be realistic to tell everyone here, like, avoid shame at all costs. You're never going to feel this. And that's like saying, like, you're never going to feel sadness, you're never going to feel anger, you're never going to feel some of these things that you might feel are unpleasant in the moment, but they do lead to the opposition of that. They do lead to the opposite emotion, or the next one that is going to lead you in your step forward. No one goes out and says, like, I'm going to look to feel sad today. Actually, some of you scary motherfuckers do. You go and you say, like, I'm going to watch a real tear jerking movie, and I'm like,
Well,
why? I'm like, why are you gonna do that? Like, are you a masochist? But
what?
I also think, like, that's just a personality differentiator right there, because, like, a lot of people say, like, why would you go out and do this, like, really hard workout that's challenging, that's hard for you, that's going to break you down? And I say, like, it's breaking me down to build me back up, right? Because I can't have one without the other. So I personally don't chase sadness to feel happy, but some people do.
Yeah.
And I chase difficult situations to feel strength, right? Like, I chase things that make me fearful to make me feel courageous. So it's just a different way that we're all, where our strengths lie and what we might seek for our discomfort, where essentially we're all looking for that type of discomfort.
Well, I just want to throw a little bit of science in there because I do think that it is relevant when it comes to, of course, everyone is unique, but a 2014 study found that actually shame was the strongest predictor of the desire to change in oneself. It was single handedly the emotion that produced the most change in the individual studied, and that is over guilt and that is over regret. Now, a lot of people assume that, like, guilt is going to lead me to change. If I feel badly about something, it's going to lead me to change, or regret is going to lead me to change, or even that positive emotions will lead to the biggest change. And this study says that shame is the number one predictor to actual change. Now, I'm not going to say that is literally the only path because that's ridiculous. But I do think when it comes to the discussion of accountability
Yeah.
and the precursor to accountability, because you were like, I don't like shame, I like accountability. And I'm like, okay, I hear that and I'm here for that. But where do we get to accountability? Because something comes first when you're looking at your life, the way you reacted to someone, your actions, like all of this, like there's a thing that comes first and it's an emotion. Accountability isn't necessarily an emotion, I don't think. Um, I I think that shame versus accountability, they are different, but I do think that it opens up the door when you feel shame for a behavior that you're exhibiting. That is where you start to become accountable. And I really think that immediately pushing off that emotion and saying, I should never feel shameful for anything. That's not an emotion that I ever want to feel. Um, but you might have done something worth feeling shameful over. And this is not in society's view. Very important distinction. Not like somebody said you should feel shameful for that behavior. I'm talking about you looking inward and saying, when I hold myself up against my ideal person, who
Yeah.
I want to be, that behavior makes me feel shame, makes me feel ashamed of the way I've behaved. There's something wrong there, and you need to pay attention to it. You not only need to pay attention to it, but you need to welcome it in, because I think it's the first step to accountability.
So you already know we make the best workout gear, but one of our best products, our highest rated product on our website, is actually our collagen. If you have not heard about Glow Up by CVG, you are missing out. There is almost 700 five-star reviews on this product because it is such an amazing supplement. Actually, looking at it today, there are only 2 1-stars that were meant to be 5 stars. They love the product, they hit the wrong amount of stars. This is one of our most popular products for a reason. It dissolves like no other collagen. It's type 1 and 3. You're going to have healthier skin, better joint mobility. Everything about this collagen makes it easy to put into your daily routine. So if you haven't tried Glow Up, get on cvg.com and make sure to add it to cart today. It's our best product.
I definitely think it can be the first step to accountability. I absolutely do, but I just don't think that's a good blanket statement for every person, because I think that a lot of people are, when they feel shame. So I'm saying, like, every person is going to feel shameful at some point in their life. It's inevitable. Um I think that every person, that the reaction to shame is different with everyone, and I think that the how we when we get to accountability, there's a lot of growth that happens there, that we can use shame to get to accountability. That the next step can be, I will face this and I will be like, I'm accountable to me. I'm accountable for these actions. I'm accountable for my behavior. But I also think that when we are in a lot of ways, when people feel shame, it makes them draw away from that accountability and more into secrecy and aggression and complete rejection. And I just think, on a societal level, I think this has happened a lot with just like big scope, right? When we're thinking about, hey, uh, we have a lot of racism in our society. We have a lot of sexism, and that has caused a lot of shame in a lot of people who have been on the other side of that, right? And instead of looking for accountability and looking to open up the discussion of how we might right some wrongs, it has pushed a large group of people into retracting away from looking at it all together and into anger, resentment, and um, pushing in a different direction of, well, that doesn't even exist. That's a problem with you. And it just becomes, and I think it's rooted in a lot of shame there. And it doesn't move towards accountability. It moves towards, anger and aggression, and it closes off a conversation where we could open up and start to connect, but instead it draws us away from each other.
You
I've
know,
been thinking about this a lot with the young boys.
so I'm definitely I definitely agree that I see connections between shame and health impacts like addiction,
Yeah.
depression, violence, anxiety. And I think that's why researchers like Brene Brown have gone so far into like the root of all evil being shame, because it's like we see so many negative behaviors tied to like lasting feelings of shame, trauma around shame, like all of this type of stuff. But my argument here is that that shame is coming from outward sources. And I
Mm,
really think the distinction is huge between someone else's shame
yeah.
and yours. Like truly, we, and I know this is really hard because as I opened up this conversation, like, you have all of this baggage that you came with that wasn't your choice, of like your upbringing, like where you are like located, like your socioeconomic status, all of these things, your race, your gender, all of these things come with you.
Your trauma,
Your trauma.
which is a lot of like where my discussion with shame has come a lot of when it comes to talking about trauma, because shame is rooted in so many destructive behaviors that come after traumatic events or a traumatic upbringing.
But that's somebody else's shame, though. I'm going to keep arguing that, though. That's not your shame. And I really think that's why it can be used for the good and the bad, because when you take it from an outward point of view, where like someone tells you you're engaging in a shameful behavior, or someone, or there's circumstances outside of your control that lead you to feel shame, those are still not inward views. We're still not scratching the surface of, is this the type of person that I want to be? And
I don't think it's wrong that like shame has been a major catalyst for inciting a certain behavior. I mean, you can look at just like social constructs of religion. It is based on no, everyone's gonna hate me for this one. It is based on shaming certain behaviors into acting a certain way. Like it's very powerful, and it is used in very different ways. And how we internalize that is definitely um different, and within different controls, and in different at certain aspects of our lives, and one that we need to pay attention to because it is so powerful.
okay, pay attention to it, be cognizant that it's there, and be aware. But at the end of the day, this is why I've always been like, I don't know, because when it comes to somebody else telling you these things are wrong, and the only reason that you think those things are wrong is because somebody else said it, it's a full stop. I don't need religion or anything else to tell me that like murdering another person is wrong. I don't need any 10 commandments. I don't need any cult things. I don't need that, because like I can look within myself and say like, no, that's for me, that's wrong.
Yeah, but that comes with a strong comes with a strong sense of self too, right? So that comes with a lot of other work that can lead to I can decide. And I think that the really powerful question that you said, when you said like, I asked my son this, isn't that you demanded that the behavior, whatever it was one that he had to decide was shameful. I mean, wasn't one that you decided was shameful. You left it to him, and you said, is that the type of person that you want to be? And I think that's a really important question that is turning it internal rather than external. So I think that's a hard distinction from how we do, typically use and think about shame. Because when I think about some of the different ways that people utilize shame as trainers, as catalysts for, weight, as catalysts for change when it comes to weight loss, eating behaviors, it's like, saying that behavior is shameful. You were on a binge eating episode, that's shameful. We don't want to talk about, keep that in your closet underneath your bed. You know what I mean? Like, that is coming from an external source, rather than, let's shed some light on this. If you engaged in this type of binge eating behavior that you have decided is not serving you, how does that make you feel? How
Is that
would
the kind of person
you?
you want to be?
Though, doesn't it just come back to that? I don't know.
But
First,
you decide. You get to
I
decide.
want to talk about how this relates to health and wellness and fitness. Like, I want to talk about where it comes into workouts. I want to talk about where it comes into eating, specifically like negative behaviors around eating. I want to talk about where it comes into motivation, how you motivate yourself to get up and get in a workout. Like, is it like, you suck, you fat piece of shit? Or is it like, no, we're going to talk to ourselves nicely? Like I want to break this down, but I think we need to do it in a part 2. I think this is a really good introduction to this like idea, but I think let's come back, let's revisit this whole idea when it comes to health and wellness, and like, does it have a place when it comes to, will you get out there and work out, or will you keep staying and scrolling on the couch and feel regretful of it later? Will you eat, an excessive amount of a gallon of ice cream when you know that that's not what you want to do and it's not serving you? Like, where does it fit in? So I love opening up this conversation, and I'm asking you, will you come back and argue with me about it for a
I will absolutely come back and argue with you for that too. I will come back on my podcast to argue with you.
I love you, and we love you guys. Hope you have enjoyed this conversation, and definitely hit back for part 2.